On February 17, 2026, a solar eclipse takes place in Aquarius under the Dhanishta Nakshatra, marking one of the karmically intense and transformative moments of the year. It's important to highlight that these interpretations are drawn from sidereal or Vedic astrology, which considers a roughly 24-degree variance from the tropical zodiac. In astrology, an eclipse is not just an astronomical event but a moment of Grahan, meaning something that grasps, covers, or obscures. During a solar eclipse, the moon comes between the sun and the earth, symbolically eclipsing light, clarity, authority, and conscious direction. When Rahu is involved, as it always is in eclipses, the obscuration is not just physical but psychological and karmic. Aquarius, a sign that governs society, masses, technology, systems, networks, ideologies, governance models, reforms, and the future-oriented mindset. Aquarius is not about the individual ego but about collectives, causes, and structures that bind people together. When an eclipse happens here, it signals a reset or disturbance in how societies function, how systems are organized, and how people relate to authority, technology, and group identity. The involvement of Dhanishta Nakshatra adds another crucial layer. Dhanishta is symbolized by the drum and is ruled by Mars, while its deities are the Ashtavasus, associated with wealth, resources, rhythm, time cycles, and sustenance. This nakshatra is deeply connected with movement, ambition, sound, visibility, and redistribution of wealth or power. Eclipses in Dhanishta often trigger events related to economic systems, financial markets, military activity, infrastructure, large organizations, and collective ambition. There is usually a sense of urgency. Something must move, change, or be restructured, but the direction may not be immediately clear. With 5 planets clustered in Aquarius, this eclipse behaves like a major karmic reset. Mercury's presence suggests that information, communication, media, data, negotiations, trade, and narratives will be central themes. Under eclipse conditions, Mercury tends to distort facts, spread incomplete or misleading information, or reveal that what people believed to be true was only partially accurate. Venus, the planet of values, money, relationships, diplomacy, and comforts, being part here indicates disruptions or reassessments around alliances, financial agreements, social harmony, and what societies collectively value. Matters related to women, art, luxury industries, and financial stability may feel unsettled or undergo sudden shifts. Mars in first pada of Dhanishta, which is own nakshatra of Mars, in Capricorn sign plays a critical background role. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, giving it strategic strength, discipline, and execution power. While not directly conjunct the eclipse, Mars energizes Dhanishta themes from behind the scenes, suggesting decisive actions by governments, corporations, military forces, or authorities in response to instability. This can manifest as policy enforcement, restructuring, crackdowns, or aggressive steps taken to regain control over systems that appear to be slipping. Meanwhile, Jupiter retrograde in Gemini aspects Aquarius, offering wisdom, legal perspective, and ethical questioning, but in a reflective, delayed, or revising manner. Jupiter retrograde often forces humanity to rethink beliefs, laws, educational narratives, and ideological positions. Its aspect to the eclipse soften up the results. The role of Saturn, Aquarius's ruler, is extremely important. Saturn transiting Pisces indicates karmic testing related to compassion, boundaries, institutions, humanitarian ideals, and collective suffering. Since Saturn governs Aquarius, its placement in Pisces shows that whatever disruptions occur during this eclipse will demand accountability, realism, and long-term responsibility. The consequences of decisions made around this eclipse will unfold slowly but steadily, especially where governance, social welfare, and institutional integrity are concerned. With Ketu in Leo, the eclipse axis highlights a tension between collective systems, Aquarius, and individual authority, leadership, ego, and celebrity, Leo. This can manifest as the fall or withdrawal of prominent leaders, disillusionment with authority figures, or a loss of faith in charismatic leadership. Ketu in Leo often dissolves pride, titles, and personal glorification, forcing attention back to purpose rather than personality. On a psychological level, eclipse seasons are inherently confusing. Sun and moon are our inner and outer lights, representing clarity, purpose, mind, and emotional stability. When both are eclipsed, people may feel directionless, mentally foggy, emotionally reactive, or uncertain about major life choices. This effect typically starts about a week before and continues a week after the eclipse, but the deeper karmic themes can unfold over the next 6 months. This solar eclipse is not about instant results. Solar eclipses act like seeds planted in darkness. Events initiated, decisions made unknowingly, or disruptions triggered around this time reveal their true meaning later. What appears confusing in February, March 2026 may eventually push systems, societies, and individuals toward more sustainable and realistic paths, though not without discomfort. To accurately assess the impact of these events, consider both your ascendant and moon signs. The ascendant sign provides insights into the timing of life events, while the moon sign reveals how you'll emotionally respond to these changes. Also, consider the position of your current Mahadasha Lord in your birth chart, as it can shed light on how these transits will influence the recurring themes of your dasha period. The specific outcomes will depend on your individual dasha and how these events interact with your natal planetary placements. Those under Rahu, Ketu, Sun, or Moon dasha periods can feel the effects of eclipses with the greatest intensity. Remember, the impact of eclipses varies for each person. Eclipse seasons aren't the most auspicious times to begin new projects, navigate complex relationships, make major career moves, or take other significant material decisions. They have historically been viewed as inauspicious events, often associated with negative omens for worldly matters. Instead, eclipse seasons offer an excellent opportunity to retreat, meditate, and delve into your inner world. They provide a unique chance to connect with your spiritual side. Be aware, though, that eclipse seasons can be quite turbulent, particularly in the days between a lunar and a solar eclipse. It's essential to determine whether an eclipse will be visible in your location, as its effects tend to be more pronounced where it can be seen. The true outcomes of these events usually become apparent over the next 6 months. Whether these outcomes prove favorable or unfavorable largely depends on your current dasha. If you face challenges during this eclipse season, remember that events may unfold and become clearer in the months ahead. Now that we have this context, let's dive into the predictions for each zodiac sign for the solar eclipse. For Aries, the solar eclipse occurs in Aquarius, activating your 11th house, the house of gains, income, fulfillment of desires, networks, social circles, large organizations, elder siblings, patrons, and future-oriented ambitions. This is a very consequential eclipse for Aries because the 11th house is one of the strongest houses for material growth, visibility, and long-term success. Because this growth zone is being eclipsed by Rahu along with Sun, Moon, Venus, and Mercury, the results will not be straightforward. Instead, this eclipse marks a deep karmic reset around how you earn, whom you associate with, and what kind of ambitions you pursue. The 11th house shows what we receive from the world: money, recognition, support, and fulfillment of goals. When a solar eclipse happens here, it often feels as if gains are delayed, uncertain, or suddenly altered. For Aries individuals, February, March 2026 may bring confusion around income sources, friendships, professional networks, or expectations from others. You may realize that certain goals you have been chasing no longer feel aligned, or that the people you depended on are unreliable or changing their stance. This can be mentally unsettling because the Sun, your 5th house lord of intelligence, judgment, and future planning, is being eclipsed, making it harder to see the bigger picture clearly in the moment. As this eclipse takes place on the Anishta Nakshatra, this eclipse can abruptly elevate or cut off sources of gains. You may feel pressure to perform for the collective, teams, organizations, audiences, or online platforms. A leadership role within a group may suddenly come with responsibility rather than glamour. Some friendships or alliances end because they no longer serve growth or status. Financially, gains may come through aggressive effort, but instability remains until clarity emerges months later. Because of Rahu, sudden developments through friends, online platforms, technology, social media, or large organizations are very likely. Some Aries individuals may experience abrupt gains that seem exciting but unstable, while others may see promised gains dissolve or get postponed. Rahu in the 11th often brings unconventional income, foreign clients, digital work, unusual collaborations, or opportunities that look tempting but lack clarity. The eclipse warns against blindly trusting verbal assurances, projections, or future promises, especially where money or professional alliances are concerned. The presence of Mercury in this eclipse makes communication, contracts, negotiations, and information flow extremely important, and also highly unreliable in the short term. Misunderstandings with friends, colleagues, or professional contacts are possible. You may feel that people are not being transparent with you, or that you yourself are unsure how much to reveal. Important emails, agreements, or financial discussions initiated around the eclipse period may need revision later. It is wiser for Aries individuals to observe, collect data, and delay final commitments until clarity returns in the weeks following the eclipse. Venus's involvement adds another layer. Venus represents money, comfort, harmony, and relationships. Issues may arise around shared financial goals, friendships turning transactional, or disappointment in social relationships. You may feel that certain friendships exist only for convenience or benefit rather than genuine connection. For some Aries individuals, this eclipse can bring romantic complications within friend circles or workplace networks. Attractions may develop suddenly but remain confusing or short-lived. Financially, this is not the time to depend on others for monetary support or returns on investments that are still speculative. A very important stabilizing factor for Aries is Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which casts its 9th aspect onto Aquarius. Jupiter's aspect protects you from major long-term loss, but because it is retrograde, its support comes slowly and indirectly. You may need to revisit old plans, reconnect with past contacts, or revive previous ideas related to income and networking. Jupiter suggests that knowledge, communication skills, writing, teaching, or advisory roles will eventually help you recover momentum, but only after you reassess your strategy. Another key influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 12th house in Pisces. This shows that gains, 11th house, are now linked to expenses, isolation, foreign connections, spiritual lessons, or behind-the-scenes work. Aries individuals may find that even when income comes, expenses rise simultaneously, making it harder to feel satisfied. You might invest heavily in something unseen, skill development, overseas ventures, healing, or closure of past karmic debts. Mars, your first house lord, is strong in Capricorn and positioned in the Nishtha Nakshatra, giving you the ability to take disciplined, practical action despite confusion. This is crucial. While the eclipse clouds judgment, Mars gives you endurance and strategic thinking. Aries individuals who channel their energy into structured efforts, long-term planning, financial discipline, and professional consistency will handle this eclipse far better than those chasing quick wins. Avoid impulsive decisions driven by peer pressure or fear of missing out. Emotionally, the eclipse may create a sense of social disconnection. You may feel that your contributions are not fully acknowledged or that you are giving more than you receive. This feeling is temporary but important. It forces you to redefine what success and fulfillment truly mean to you. Some friendships may fade naturally during this time, especially those based purely on ambition or convenience. While this can feel disappointing, it ultimately clears space for more authentic alliances. It is also important to remember that eclipses work in 6-month cycles. What feels like loss, delay, or confusion in February, March 2026 will start showing clearer results by mid to late 2026. New income paths may emerge from unexpected directions, especially through digital platforms, international networks, or skill-based roles. The eclipse makes it clear that Aries individuals must move away from shortcuts and inflated expectations. Overall, this solar eclipse in the 11th house is not denying Aries' growth, it is restructuring it. It asks you to become selective about your goals, realistic about gains, and conscious about the company you keep. If you remain patient, disciplined, and observant during this eclipse season, the long-term outcome can be a more stable income model, healthier professional networks, and ambitions that are truly aligned with your evolving life path. For Taurus, the solar eclipse occurs in Aquarius, activating your 10th house. The 10th house governs career, profession, authority, reputation, public image, status, government matters, leadership roles, and life direction. Any eclipse in this house is never subtle, and this one is especially powerful because it is formed by Sun, Moon, Rahu, Venus, and Mercury together, while Aquarius's ruler Saturn is transiting Pisces, and Jupiter retrograde in Gemini aspects the eclipse. For Taurus individuals, this eclipse marks a major karmic turning point in professional life, social standing, and long-term ambitions. As this eclipse takes place on the Nishtha Nakshatra, Taurus natives may face a career shakeup that forces action. Promotions can come with heavy pressure. Demotions or exits can happen suddenly if authority is misused. Your voice at work becomes important. What you say publicly can define your status. Power struggles with bosses or institutions are likely. The eclipse can push you into a leadership role you didn't plan for, or strip away a title that lacks substance. The 10th house represents how the world sees you and how you contribute to society. When a solar eclipse occurs here, there is often a temporary eclipse of clarity, authority, or direction in career matters. Taurus individuals may feel uncertain about their professional path, dissatisfied with their current role, or disconnected from their sense of achievement. This does not necessarily mean immediate job loss or collapse, but it strongly indicates instability, restructuring, or hidden developments in career-related areas. Decisions taken by superiors, organizations, or authorities may feel confusing or out of your control during this period. A crucial factor is that Sun, the natural significator of authority, leadership, and government, is itself eclipsed. This can manifest as problems with bosses, managers, government bodies, or people in power. Taurus individuals may feel undervalued, overlooked, or constrained despite putting in effort. Recognition may be delayed, or credit for work may go elsewhere. If you are self-employed or running a business, this eclipse can bring uncertainty about visibility, branding, or public trust. It is not the time to aggressively demand recognition. Instead, it is a time to quietly observe how power dynamics are shifting. Rahu in the 10th house often brings sudden rises or sudden disruptions in career. Some Taurus individuals may receive unexpected offers, role changes, or exposure to unconventional industries, technology, foreign companies, digital platforms, or large organizations. Rahu also creates illusion. Opportunities may look bigger than they truly are, or important details may be hidden. What appears as a breakthrough may later require heavy correction. Taurus individuals must be extremely cautious about career decisions made during the eclipse window. The involvement of Mercury indicates that communication, paperwork, contracts, negotiations, interviews, and professional discussions are central themes. Miscommunication is very likely, emails misunderstood, verbal promises changing, or official documents needing revision. Career-related decisions taken in haste may later require renegotiation. It is advisable for Taurus individuals to keep written records, avoid verbal-only assurances, and double-check all legal or contractual matters related to work. Venus represents comfort, stability, finances, harmony, and personal values. Taurus individuals may feel that career demands are clashing with personal peace or values. You may feel pressured to compromise comfort, ethics, or emotional balance for professional reasons. Some may feel dissatisfied even after achieving something externally, realizing that success no longer brings the same fulfillment. Financial rewards linked to career, bonuses, increments, commissions, may be delayed or come with conditions attached. Another major influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 11th house in Pisces. This shows that career changes are directly tied to long-term income patterns, networks, and future gains. Saturn's presence indicates slow but serious karmic lessons. Hard work done now may not pay off immediately, but it will shape your professional foundation for years to come. Saturn also brings responsibility. Some Taurus individuals may be burdened with extra duties without immediate reward. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, aspecting your 10th house, provides protection but not instant relief. Jupiter retrograde suggests revisiting old professional ideas, roles, or skill sets. You may reconnect with previous employers, clients, or career paths in a new way. Jupiter also emphasizes learning, upskilling, certifications, communication abilities, or advisory roles can become important for future growth. Jupiter's retrograde motion shows that clarity will come gradually, not during the eclipse itself. Because this eclipse occurs in Dhanishta Nakshatra, ruled by Mars, ambition and pressure are intensified. Dhanishta is associated with wealth, recognition, rhythm, and public acknowledgement. Eclipses here often indicate restructuring of power, authority, and financial hierarchies. Taurus individuals may feel driven to achieve more, yet simultaneously blocked or constrained. The challenge is to manage ambition without frustration. Rash moves made out of impatience can backfire. Emotionally, this eclipse can be unsettling for Taurus. You may feel emotionally exposed in professional settings or overly sensitive to criticism. Public image concerns can weigh heavily on the mind. Some may worry excessively about what others think, leading to stress or burnout. This is a signal to detach slightly from external validation and focus on internal stability. It is important to understand that solar eclipses do not deliver instant outcomes. They initiate a process. For Taurus individuals, February-March 2026 marks the beginning of a 6-month career transformation cycle. What feels confusing or restrictive now may later redirect you toward a more suitable role, industry, or leadership style. Career paths that are no longer aligned with your long-term destiny may start dissolving, even if subtly at first. Overall, this solar eclipse in the 10th house demands patience, realism, and strategic thinking from Taurus individuals. Avoid impulsive resignations, risky career jumps, or confrontations with authority during the eclipse period. Instead, observe power shifts, strengthen skills, and quietly prepare for changes that will unfold over time. If handled with maturity, this eclipse can ultimately lead to a more authentic professional identity, stronger long-term stability, and a career path that aligns better with your evolving values, even if the journey there feels challenging at first. For Gemini, the solar eclipse takes place in Aquarius, activating your 9th house. A solar eclipse in the 9th house is deeply significant because it does not merely affect external events. It challenges the meaning framework through which you interpret your life. For Gemini individuals, this eclipse initiates a profound period of questioning, recalibration, and redirection in matters related to belief, purpose, and long-term vision. The 9th house is often considered the protective shield of the horoscope, the house that brings grace, luck, and unseen support. When a solar eclipse occurs here, that protective layer temporarily weakens. Gemini individuals may feel that luck is not working in their favor, that guidance is missing, or that doors which once opened easily now require extra effort. This does not mean fortune is permanently blocked, but rather that the universe is forcing you to redefine what fortune truly means. Old belief systems, philosophies, or assumptions about how life should work may no longer hold. As this eclipse is in Anishta Nakshatra, Gemini natives may experience conflict with teachers, institutions, or belief frameworks that once felt solid. A philosophical or political stance may harden. Foreign connections can bring opportunity but also controversy. This is not a gentle spiritual awakening, it's a forceful realignment of worldview, often triggered by external authority. The eclipse is formed by Sun, Moon, Rahu, Mercury, and Venus, making it mentally and intellectually intense. The Sun represents your sense of direction, ethics, and higher truth in the 9th house, and its eclipse can create confusion regarding long-term plans, moral decisions, or faith in authority figures such as teachers, mentors, institutions, or even religious systems. Gemini individuals may feel disillusioned with a guide or ideology they once trusted. Some may experience distance, physical or emotional, from mentors, father figures, or gurus during this time. Because Rahu dominates this eclipse, belief systems may shift suddenly and unconventionally. You may feel drawn toward alternative philosophies, foreign cultures, unconventional spiritual paths, or non-traditional education. Rahu in the 9th house often breaks rigid belief structures and replaces them with experimental or hybrid worldviews. While this can expand your mind in the long run, during the eclipse phase it can feel destabilizing, as if the old compass has stopped working but the new one hasn't calibrated yet. Gemini individuals should be cautious about blindly adopting new ideologies or legal advice during this period. The involvement of Mercury, your 1st house lord, makes this eclipse especially personal. Your thinking patterns, decision-making process, and interpretation of truth are directly affected. Mental restlessness, overthinking, and conflicting advice are likely. You may receive contradictory guidance regarding education, travel, visas, legal matters, or publishing. Important documents related to foreign travel, higher studies, or legal proceedings may face delays, revisions, or confusion. It is essential to verify information from multiple reliable sources before acting. Venus's presence links the eclipse to values, relationships, and financial matters connected to the 9th house. For some Gemini individuals, this may manifest as financial strain related to education, travel, religious obligations, or legal expenses. Others may feel a values-based conflict, questioning whether their current lifestyle, career path, or relationships align with their deeper principles. Romantic or financial connections with foreigners, teachers, or people from different belief systems may feel confusing or unstable during this time. A key mitigating influence is Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, your own sign, which casts its ninth aspect onto Aquarius. Jupiter is the natural significator of the ninth house, and its aspect provides protection, but in a reflective, delayed manner. Jupiter retrograde suggests revisiting old teachings, unfinished studies, previous legal matters, or long-held philosophies. Something from your past, an abandoned course, a forgotten mentor, or an old belief, may return for reconsideration. Because Jupiter is retrograde, immediate clarity should not be expected. Gemini individuals may feel intellectually overloaded yet spiritually uncertain. The lesson here is patience. Avoid making irreversible decisions related to immigration, higher education, religious commitments, or legal disputes during the eclipse window unless absolutely necessary. Another crucial factor is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 10th house in Pisces. This shows that belief systems, 9th house, are directly influencing career and public responsibilities, 10th house. Gemini individuals may feel pressured to align their professional life with their ethics and long-term vision. Career paths that feel meaningless or misaligned may start feeling heavier. Emotionally, the eclipse can create a subtle but persistent sense of doubt. You may question whether you are on the right path, whether your efforts have meaning, or whether your sacrifices are worth it. Affecting emotional security derived from faith and belief. It is important not to interpret this doubt as failure. Travel plans, especially long-distance or international, may face uncertainty. Delays, sudden changes, or altered intentions are possible. If travel does occur during this period, it may be transformative but mentally taxing. Similarly, students pursuing higher education may feel uncertain about their chosen subject or institution. Rather than forcing certainty, it is better to allow flexibility and exploration. This eclipse also has karmic implications related to past life belief patterns. Gemini individuals may unconsciously release dogmatic thinking, inherited belief systems, or unquestioned moral frameworks. While this can feel like a loss of grounding initially, it ultimately leads to a more personalized and experiential understanding of truth. It is important to remember that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. The confusion or lack of direction felt in February, March 2026 will not remain the same. By the second half of 2026, Gemini individuals are likely to gain deeper clarity about their life philosophy, educational direction, or spiritual outlook. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 9th house for Gemini is not about denying luck or wisdom. It is about stripping away borrowed beliefs and outdated philosophies. This eclipse asks you to slow down, reflect deeply, and rebuild your inner compass. If you resist the urge to rush conclusions and instead stay curious, patient, and introspective, this eclipse can eventually become a turning point that leads you toward a more meaningful, consciously chosen life direction. For Cancer, the solar eclipse occurs in Aquarius, activating your 8th house, the most complex, sensitive, and transformative house of the horoscope. A solar eclipse in this house is never light or superficial. For Cancer individuals, this eclipse marks a deep karmic turning point that works beneath the surface, often quietly at first, but with long-lasting consequences. The 8th house represents what we cannot control directly, forces that reshape us rather than reward us. When a solar eclipse takes place here, it often feels as if certainty is taken away. Cancer individuals may feel emotionally unsettled, vulnerable, or uneasy without being able to clearly explain why. Your sense of stability, emotional security, and clarity around life direction may feel shaken. This is not a period of visible collapse, but rather a time when inner structures begin to change. As this eclipse is in Dhanishta Nakshatra, this period can expose power dynamics in marriages, business partnerships, or financial dependencies. Someone may assert control, or you may be forced to take charge of a crisis. Sudden expenses, insurance matters, or medical interventions are possible. Emotionally, this eclipse can feel destabilizing but ultimately forces inner strength and survival instincts to awaken. One of the most prominent themes of this eclipse is joint finances and shared resources. Matters related to spouse's income, business partnerships, loans, taxes, insurance claims, or inheritance may enter a phase of uncertainty. Some Cancer individuals may discover hidden financial issues, unpaid dues, unclear agreements, or obligations that were previously overlooked. Others may experience delays or confusion around settlements or reimbursements. Because Rahu, Mercury, and Venus are involved, financial matters may be surrounded by misinformation, half-truths, or unrealistic expectations. This is not the time to take financial risks or depend on money that has not yet materialized. Emotionally, this eclipse can be intense for Cancer individuals because the 8th house deals with emotional bonding and psychological depth, and the moon, your first house lord, is involved. You may feel emotionally exposed or withdrawn. Old fears, anxieties, or unresolved emotional patterns may resurface unexpectedly. This can manifest as sudden mood swings, sleep disturbances, or a sense of emotional heaviness. This resurfacing is not random. It is meant to bring buried issues into awareness so they can be addressed and healed over time. Rahu can create fear of the unknown. Cancer individuals may worry excessively about health, finances, or the future, even if no immediate crisis is visible. This anxiety stems from the mind trying to control what cannot be controlled. Rahu in the 8th house amplifies obsession, suspicion, and overthinking. It is essential to avoid spiraling into worst-case scenarios. Not every fear that arises during this eclipse reflects reality, but it does reflect an inner transformation that is underway. Health-wise, the 8th house relates to chronic issues, reproductive health, surgeries, and sudden health events. This eclipse does not automatically indicate illness, but it does signal the need for awareness. Cancer individuals should not ignore persistent symptoms, emotional stress, or exhaustion. If medical investigations are needed, they may reveal something previously hidden, allowing early intervention. Elective procedures are best postponed unless unavoidable, as eclipse periods distort recovery timelines. Mercury's involvement indicates that information related to 8th house matters may be incomplete or confusing. Conversations around finances, intimacy, or emotional vulnerabilities may be misunderstood. Secrets may come out, but not always in a clean or truthful way. Be cautious about what you disclose and to whom. At the same time, be prepared for others to reveal information that shifts your perception of a relationship or situation. Venus being involved adds complexity to emotional and intimate relationships. Venus represents love, comfort, and harmony. An eclipse in the 8th house can bring discomfort in close bonds. Some Cancer individuals may feel emotionally distant from a partner, while others may confront trust issues, jealousy, or unspoken resentments. Financial dependence or imbalance within relationships may become a source of tension. This is a period to observe emotional patterns rather than forcing resolution. A crucial stabilizing influence comes from Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which aspects Aquarius. Jupiter's aspect provides protection against irreversible damage, but because it is retrograde, clarity and relief come gradually. Jupiter suggests that understanding will come through reflection, counseling, learning, or spiritual insight rather than immediate external fixes. Some Cancer individuals may benefit from therapy, introspection, or spiritual practices during this time. Another important factor is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 9th house in Pisces. This shows that the deep transformation happening now is tied to belief systems, faith, and long-term meaning. You may question why certain painful patterns repeat or what lesson life is trying to teach you. This eclipse also has strong karmic undertones. The 8th house is associated with past life debts and unfinished business. Cancer individuals may experience endings, emotional closures, detachment from old dependencies, or the slow dissolution of situations that no longer serve growth. While endings are rarely comfortable for Cancer, they are necessary for emotional rebirth. It is important to understand that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. What feels like emotional heaviness or uncertainty in February, March 2026 will gradually transform into greater strength and resilience by the latter half of the year. Many Cancer individuals will emerge from this period with a deeper understanding of themselves, clearer boundaries in relationships, and a more realistic approach to shared finances and emotional intimacy. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 8th house for Cancer is not meant to punish, it is meant to transform. It strips away false security and forces inner growth. If you resist fear, avoid impulsive decisions, and allow time for clarity to unfold, this eclipse can become a powerful gateway toward emotional healing, maturity, and long-term stability. For Leo, the solar eclipse takes place in Aquarius, directly activating your 7th house, the house of marriage, committed relationships, business partnerships, contracts, clients, the public, open enemies, and one-to-one interactions. This eclipse is especially significant for Leo individuals because it occurs exactly opposite your sign, while Ketu is already transiting Leo. This means the eclipse axis is cutting straight through yourself, other dynamic, forcing a profound rebalancing between personal identity and relationships. For Leo, this eclipse is less about external success and more about who you are aligning with and at what cost. The 7th house represents mirrors, people who reflect back your unresolved patterns. When a solar eclipse occurs here, relationships enter a phase of uncertainty, reassessment, or karmic turning points. Leo individuals may feel that partnerships which once felt stable are suddenly confusing, emotionally distant, or demanding. This does not automatically mean separation, but it does mean illusion is being stripped away. You may realize that certain relationships are based more on expectation, convenience, or ego rather than mutual understanding. Because the Sun, your first house lord, is eclipsed, clarity about your own role within relationships may feel temporarily lost. As this eclipse takes place on the Anishta Nakshatra, this eclipse can bring power struggles within partnerships. One person wants dominance, the other resists. Contracts may be renegotiated aggressively. A partner's career or ambition can overshadow yours, or vice versa. For some, this marks the beginning of a relationship built on shared ambition. For others, it exposes imbalance and leads to separation. Public reputation tied to partnerships becomes a major theme. Rahu brings obsession, exaggeration, foreign or unconventional elements, and sudden shifts. Some Leo individuals may feel intensely drawn towards someone new, perhaps from a different background, culture, or mindset, but this attraction may be driven more by curiosity or fantasy than long-term compatibility. Others may experience sudden disruptions in existing relationships, where suppressed issues come to the surface. Rahu rarely allows things to remain comfortable. It demands evolution, even if that process feels chaotic. Because Venus is part of this eclipse, love, harmony, attraction, and financial agreements within partnerships are under stress. Romantic relationships may go through a testing phase where emotional needs are misaligned. Expectations around affection, loyalty, or shared resources may not match reality. For married Leo individuals, this eclipse can bring distance, misunderstandings, or financial discussions that feel uncomfortable but necessary. For those in business partnerships, Venus's presence suggests imbalance. One party may feel they are giving more than they receive, or that terms of cooperation need renegotiation. Mercury's involvement makes communication a critical but unreliable factor. Words may be misunderstood, intentions misread, and promises miscommunicated. Important conversations with spouses, partners, or clients may feel circular or unresolved. Legal contracts, agreements, or negotiations initiated around this eclipse may require revision later. Leo individuals should avoid signing long-term partnership agreements during the eclipse window unless unavoidable, and even then, only after careful review. A key emotional factor for Leo individuals is Ketu transiting your first house. Ketu causes detachment, self-doubt, and a reduction of ego-based identity. You may feel less interested in asserting yourself, less confident about personal direction, or oddly disconnected from your usual sense of pride. This internal withdrawal contrasts sharply with Rahu's pull toward others in the 7th house, creating a feeling of being defined by relationships rather than by self. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini casts its aspect onto Aquarius, offering protection through wisdom, perspective, and guidance, but slowly. Jupiter suggests that clarity about relationships will come through advice, counseling, or learning rather than emotional reactions. Friends, mentors, or neutral third parties may help you see partnership situations more objectively. Because Jupiter is retrograde, immediate solutions are unlikely. Relationships are being reviewed, not finalized. Another critical influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 8th house in Pisces. This deepens the seriousness of the eclipse. Saturn here indicates karmic debts, emotional vulnerability, and long-term consequences tied to relationships. Partnerships that survive this eclipse will require honesty, emotional maturity, and shared responsibility. Saturn does not tolerate superficial bonds. If a relationship is built on avoidance or power imbalance, Saturn's influence ensures that issues cannot be ignored any longer. Emotionally, this eclipse may make Leo individuals feel exposed or misunderstood. Emotional reactions may be heightened or suppressed unpredictably. You may feel that your emotional needs are not being recognized, or that you are compromising too much to keep peace. This can lead to resentment if not acknowledged consciously. It is important to observe emotions without acting impulsively, especially during the days surrounding the eclipse. This eclipse can also affect public dealings and reputation, as the 7th house represents the public and how others perceive you. You may feel that people are projecting assumptions onto you, or that your image is being shaped by others' narratives. Avoid engaging in public disputes or legal confrontations during this period, as outcomes may be unclear or delayed. It is essential to remember that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. Relationship issues surfacing now are part of a longer karmic storyline that will develop through mid to late 2026. Some relationships may gradually dissolve if they are no longer aligned with your growth. Others may transform, becoming more equal and authentic once illusions are cleared. This eclipse does not demand immediate decisions, it demands honest awareness. For single Leo individuals, this eclipse may bring encounters that feel fated but confusing. New connections formed now may carry karmic lessons rather than immediate stability. Take time before committing emotionally. For those already partnered, patience and emotional maturity are essential. Avoid ultimatums, power struggles, or dramatic reactions, even if emotions run high. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 7th house for Leo is a profound lesson in balance. It challenges you to release ego-based expectations, confront dependency patterns, and redefine what partnership truly means. While this period may feel uncomfortable and emotionally intense, it has the potential to lead to more conscious, honest, and karmically aligned relationships. For Virgo, the solar eclipse takes place in Aquarius, activating your 6th house, the house of health, disease, daily routine, work environment, service, debts, competition, litigation, enemies, and problem-solving ability. A solar eclipse in the 6th house is both challenging and corrective. Unlike eclipses in houses of loss or relationships, this one forces Virgo individuals to confront inefficiencies, unhealthy patterns, and unresolved conflicts in very practical areas of life. The impact may feel demanding, but it also offers an opportunity to regain control, provided discipline and awareness are maintained. The 6th house represents the realities of everyday life, how you manage stress, how you serve or are employed, how you deal with obstacles, and how your body responds to pressure. When a solar eclipse occurs here, clarity around these matters is temporarily eclipsed. Virgo individuals may feel overwhelmed by work responsibilities, uncertain about workplace politics, or physically drained without an obvious cause. Because the Sun, the significator of vitality and authority, is eclipsed here, energy levels may dip, and motivation may fluctuate. This is a signal to reassess how much strain you are placing on your mind and body. As this eclipse takes place on the Anishtha Nakshatra, this eclipse creates an atmosphere of constant performance pressure. You may be pushed into leadership during chaos, or forced to fight for your position. Enemies become visible. Legal or compliance matters demand attention. Health issues linked to stress, inflammation, or exhaustion are possible. This is a karmic period of proving competence through endurance, not comfort. A major theme for Virgo during this eclipse is health awareness. The eclipse does not automatically indicate illness, but it often reveals what has been ignored. Chronic issues, stress-related symptoms, digestive imbalances, nervous exhaustion, or sleep disturbances may surface more clearly. Psychosomatic symptoms, where emotional stress manifests physically, are especially possible. Virgo individuals should not dismiss subtle signals from the body during this period. Preventive care, diagnostics, and routine adjustments will be far more beneficial than reactive measures later. Rahu in the 6th house can exaggerate conflicts, create paranoia about enemies or competition, or generate fear around health even when no serious condition exists. Virgo individuals may feel that colleagues are working against them, that workloads are unfairly distributed, or that systems are inefficient. While some concerns may be valid, Rahu tends to distort perception. Not every challenge is an attack. Discernment is essential. Respond strategically, not emotionally. Mercury, your 1st house lord, being part of the eclipse makes this period mentally intense. Overthinking, anxiety, and mental fatigue are likely. Virgo individuals may find themselves obsessing over details, trying to fix everything at once, or worrying excessively about outcomes they cannot fully control. Communication at work may suffer, emails misunderstood, instructions unclear, or expectations poorly defined. It is important to slow down, clarify instructions in writing, and avoid assuming intent where there may be none. Venus's presence connects the eclipse to finances and workplace harmony. Financial matters related to debts, loans, medical expenses, or daily costs may require attention. Some Virgo individuals may feel dissatisfied with compensation relative to effort. Others may experience discomfort in workplace relationships, especially where fairness and appreciation are concerned. Venus involved here shows imbalance, either giving too much or expecting harmony in an environment that is fundamentally competitive. This is a time to be realistic rather than idealistic about work relationships. While the eclipse may initially bring stress, it also highlights areas where Virgo individuals can build strength. Problems identified now can be systematically resolved in the months that follow. The key is persistence, rather than perfection. Trying to fix everything immediately will only increase strain. A strong stabilizing influence comes from Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which aspects Aquarius. Jupiter's aspect provides protection from major harm, especially in legal matters, health crises, or workplace disputes. Because Jupiter is retrograde, solutions come through revision rather than expansion. Old work methods, past health routines, or previous conflict resolution strategies may need to be revisited and improved. Virgo individuals may benefit from consulting experienced advisors, doctors, or mentors rather than experimenting impulsively. Another critical influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 7th house in Pisces. This indicates that conflicts, health issues, or work stress are closely tied to relationships, both professional and personal. Saturn demands accountability and balance. Virgo individuals may feel burdened by others' expectations or responsibilities within partnerships. In some cases, health or work pressure arises because boundaries are weak. Emotionally, this eclipse can create irritability or frustration. Emotional reactions may be suppressed until they suddenly surface. Virgo individuals may feel underappreciated or taken for granted. This is particularly true in service-oriented roles where effort is constant but recognition is minimal. Rather than internalizing resentment, it is healthier to acknowledge limits and prioritize self-care without guilt. This eclipse can also bring legal or competitive matters into focus. Disputes, complaints, or litigation may arise or require renewed attention. While this can feel stressful, the 6th house is actually favorable for confronting enemies and overcoming obstacles, provided actions are measured and well documented. Rash responses during the eclipse window should be avoided. Patience and strategy will yield better outcomes. It is important to remember that solar eclipses work over a 6-month period. The stress or confusion experienced in February, March 2026 is not permanent. By mid to late 2026, Virgo individuals who take disciplined steps, improving routines, addressing health proactively, refining work processes, and setting boundaries, will see tangible improvement. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 6th house for Virgo is a call to practical transformation. It does not ask you to escape problems, but to manage them more intelligently. By reducing overwork, clarifying communication, caring for health, and confronting challenges with calm persistence, Virgo individuals can turn this demanding phase into one of increased resilience and competence. For Libra, the solar eclipse takes place in Aquarius, activating your 5th house, the house of intelligence, creativity, children, romance, love affairs, speculation, education, self-expression, past life merit, and the ability to take risks. A solar eclipse in the 5th house is never light in effect because this house governs what we create, ideas, emotional bonds, talents, and even future lineage through children. For Libra individuals, this eclipse marks a significant karmic reset around joy, confidence, creative direction, and emotional fulfillment. The 5th house represents the heart and mind working together. When a solar eclipse occurs here, clarity around happiness, confidence, and creative purpose can feel temporarily eclipsed. Libra individuals may feel less inspired, less certain about their talents, or emotionally disconnected from things that once brought joy. This does not mean creativity is lost. It means that old ways of expressing yourself may no longer feel authentic. The eclipse forces you to reassess why you create, love, or take risks, rather than simply continuing out of habit. As this eclipse takes place on the Anishta Nakshatra, creative projects may suddenly demand structure and discipline. Romantic relationships can turn competitive or status-driven. Issues involving children may require decisive leadership. For some, public recognition comes with pressure. For others, ego clashes lead to creative burnout. This eclipse matures the heart through responsibility. Matters related to self-confidence and emotional satisfaction are sensitive. The sun in the 5th house represents intelligence, leadership, recognition, and creative authority. Its eclipse can make Libra individuals doubt their abilities or feel that their efforts are not being appreciated. You may question whether your ideas are good enough or whether it is worth taking creative or emotional risks. This is especially relevant for those involved in artistic fields, education, entertainment, content creation, or leadership roles that require visibility and originality. Rahu's involvement intensifies uncertainty around romance, speculation, and emotional decisions. Rahu in the 5th house can create obsessive thinking around love, children, or success. You may feel strongly drawn toward a romantic interest or a creative idea that feels exciting but unclear in long-term potential. Alternatively, expectations around children, academic performance, behavior, or future prospects may create anxiety. Rahu amplifies desire but clouds judgment, so Libra individuals must be careful not to act impulsively based on excitement, fear, or social pressure. The presence of Venus, your 1st house lord, in this eclipse makes it deeply personal. Venus governs love, pleasure, beauty, harmony, and emotional connection. Romantic relationships may feel confusing or emotionally unbalanced. Some Libra individuals may feel emotionally distant from a partner, while others may idealize someone without seeing reality clearly. Love affairs that begin around this time may feel faded or intense but require time before they can stabilize. This is not a favorable period for rushing commitments based purely on emotion. For parents, this eclipse can bring concern or emotional involvement related to children. You may feel uncertain about a child's direction, education, or behavior. In some cases, communication gaps with children may surface. This does not indicate harm, but it does suggest that expectations need to be adjusted. Allow children, and yourself, room to evolve rather than enforcing rigid outcomes. Mercury's involvement shows that the mind is heavily engaged during this eclipse. Overthinking, second-guessing, and mental restlessness are likely. Decisions related to education, exams, teaching, writing, or creative planning may feel confusing or delayed. Information received during this period may be incomplete or misleading, especially around speculative ventures. Libra individuals should avoid gambling, risky investments, or speculative financial decisions during this eclipse cycle, as judgment may be distorted. A major supportive factor is Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which casts its aspect on Aquarius. Jupiter's influence protects wisdom, ethics, and long-term growth related to the 5th house, but because it is retrograde, progress comes through reflection rather than expansion. You may revisit old creative projects, unfinished studies, or past passions that deserve a second chance. Learning, teaching, or mentoring roles may reemerge, helping you reconnect with your intellectual confidence over time. Another important influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 6th house in Pisces. This indicates that joy, creativity, and romance are now linked to responsibility, discipline, and effort. Saturn demands structure. If creativity has been chaotic or inconsistent, this eclipse will expose that imbalance. Libra individuals may realize that joy requires routine and boundaries, not just inspiration. Health, stress, and daily workload can directly impact your creative and emotional life, making self-care essential. Emotionally, this eclipse can feel unsettling, because 5th house is the house of joy. You may experience moments of emotional flatness or lack of motivation. This does not mean happiness is gone, it means it is being redefined. Old sources of pleasure may no longer satisfy, pushing you to seek deeper, more meaningful fulfillment rather than superficial enjoyment. This eclipse also carries karmic undertones related to past life creativity and merit. The 5th house reflects what we bring from previous lives. Libra individuals may unconsciously release old creative identities, belief patterns, or emotional attachments that no longer serve growth. While this can feel like loss initially, it creates space for a more authentic form of self-expression to emerge later. It is essential to remember that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. The confusion or emotional uncertainty felt in February, March 2026 will not be permanent. By mid to late 2026, clarity around creative direction, romantic priorities, and emotional fulfillment will gradually return. What begins as doubt can later become renewed confidence, provided you allow time for insight to develop. For Libra individuals in creative fields, this is a time to refine rather than launch. Edit, practice, learn, and prepare instead of pushing for immediate recognition. For those focused on relationships, observe emotional patterns without rushing decisions. For parents, stay supportive without controlling outcomes. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 5th house for Libra is not denying joy, it is purifying it. It asks you to release ego-based validation, unrealistic expectations, and impulsive risks. In doing so, it helps you rediscover creativity, love, and confidence in a more mature and sustainable form. For Scorpio, the solar eclipse takes place in Aquarius, activating your fourth house, the house of home, mother, emotional security, inner peace, property, real estate, vehicles, roots, homeland, and the psychological foundation of life. A solar eclipse in the fourth house is deeply personal and emotionally charged because this house represents your inner world rather than external achievements. The fourth house is the emotional anchor of the chart. When a solar eclipse occurs here, it often creates a feeling that the ground beneath you is shifting. Scorpio individuals may feel unsettled at home, emotionally restless, or disconnected from their usual sense of comfort. This does not always mean dramatic external events, but it does indicate inner turbulence. Clarity and emotional reassurance are temporarily obscured. You may feel unsure about where you truly belong, what feels safe anymore, or how much emotional energy you can continue to invest in family or domestic responsibilities. As this eclipse takes place on the Anishtha Nakshatra, this eclipse can bring relocation, renovation, or power struggles within the family. One may feel compelled to take command at home. Emotional peace feels disrupted because responsibilities increase. Matters related to land, vehicles, or parental authority may surface suddenly. Long-standing emotional patterns tied to security are broken so stronger foundations can be built. One of the most prominent themes of this eclipse for Scorpio is home and domestic life. Matters related to residence, property, relocation, renovation, or living arrangements may enter a phase of uncertainty. Some Scorpio individuals may feel the urge to move, change environments, or emotionally detach from a place that no longer feels supportive. Others may experience disruptions at home, repairs, family tensions, or responsibilities connected to elders or the mother figure. These developments may not be fully clear or resolvable during the eclipse window, but will unfold gradually over the next several months. Scorpio individuals tend to keep emotions guarded, but during this eclipse, buried feelings related to family history, childhood conditioning, or unresolved emotional patterns may surface. Memories, nostalgia, or emotional triggers connected to the past may arise unexpectedly. This is not meant to destabilize you permanently. Rather, it is a call to acknowledge emotional truths that have been ignored or suppressed. Rahu in the fourth house often creates a sense of dissatisfaction at home. No matter what is done, something feels missing. Scorpio individuals may feel mentally preoccupied, restless, or unable to fully relax. There may be an urge to escape domestic responsibilities or emotional expectations, yet simultaneously a feeling of guilt for wanting distance. Rahu tends to distort perception, so it is important not to make drastic decisions about home or family based solely on temporary emotional discomfort. Mercury's involvement indicates that communication within the family may be strained or misunderstood. Conversations with parents, relatives, or household members may feel unproductive or emotionally charged. Important decisions related to property paperwork, legal documentation, or family agreements may face delays or revisions. Scorpio individuals should be cautious with verbal commitments and avoid heated discussions during the eclipse period, as words spoken now may be misinterpreted or remembered long after. Venus involved in this eclipse can make Scorpio individuals feel emotionally deprived or unappreciated at home. You may feel that you are giving more emotional support than you are receiving. Financial matters related to home, such as property expenses, renovations, or vehicle purchases, may feel burdensome or confusing. This is not an ideal time to make major property investments unless absolutely necessary. A crucial stabilizing influence comes from Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which aspects Aquarius. Jupiter's aspect offers protection from irreversible loss, especially in property and family matters, but because it is retrograde, resolution comes slowly. Jupiter suggests that insight will come through reflection, discussion, or guidance from a wise advisor. Some Scorpio individuals may revisit old family matters, ancestral issues, or emotional patterns that need closure. Another important influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your fifth house in Pisces. This shows that emotional security, fourth house, is closely tied to responsibility related to children, creativity, or emotional expression. Scorpio individuals may feel weighed down by duties connected to children or emotional expectations that limit personal freedom. Saturn's influence demands emotional maturity, Comfort cannot be achieved through avoidance, only through conscious responsibility and patience. Emotionally, this eclipse may feel heavy because it touches the deepest layers of the psyche. Scorpio individuals may experience mood fluctuations, withdrawal, or a desire for solitude. This is a natural response to internal restructuring. It is important not to judge yourself for needing emotional space. Solitude during this period can be healing if used for reflection rather than isolation. This eclipse can also affect the mother figure or maternal relationships. There may be concern about a mother's health, emotional state, or role in your life. In some cases, unresolved dynamics with the mother may resurface for healing. This does not necessarily indicate conflict, but it does suggest a shift in how emotional dependence or responsibility is experienced. It is essential to remember that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. The emotional unease or domestic uncertainty felt in February, March 2026 will gradually give way to greater clarity. By mid to late 2026, Scorpio individuals are likely to have a clearer understanding of where they feel emotionally secure and what kind of home environment truly supports their well-being. This eclipse also carries a karmic message for Scorpio. Emotional strength does not come from control, but from acceptance. Old emotional armor may begin to dissolve, allowing a more authentic sense of peace to emerge later. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 4th house for Scorpio is a profound inner reset. It challenges emotional attachments, domestic comfort zones, and subconscious patterns. While this period may feel unsettling, it is ultimately guiding you toward a deeper, more honest emotional foundation. For Sagittarius, the solar eclipse of February 17, 2026 occurs in Aquarius, activating your 3rd house, the house of communication, courage, self-effort, initiative, skills, writing, media, marketing, short journeys, siblings, neighbors, and day-to-day interactions. A solar eclipse in the 3rd house is not about sudden destiny shifts, but about reprogramming how you act, speak, and assert yourself in the world. For Sagittarius individuals, this eclipse marks a turning point in how you use your voice, your willpower, and your personal agency. The 3rd house represents Purushartha through effort. Unlike the 9th house, which shows divine grace, the 3rd shows what you must earn through initiative. When a solar eclipse occurs here, motivation and clarity around effort can feel temporarily blocked. Sagittarius individuals may experience a dip in confidence, hesitation in taking initiative, or confusion about which direction to push in. This can feel uncomfortable for Sagittarius, a sign naturally driven by optimism and forward motion. The eclipse forces a pause, not to stop you, but to refine how you move forward. As this eclipse takes place on the Anishtha Nakshatra, this eclipse amplifies the power of speech. Words spoken now can create allies or enemies. You may feel compelled to assert your ideas loudly. Conflicts with siblings or colleagues may arise over dominance or recognition. Courage increases, but so does impulsiveness. This is a time when your voice shapes your future, so restraint is as important as confidence. The Sun, representing courage, authority, and confidence, is eclipsed in the 3rd house. This may create self-doubt about your abilities or hesitation in expressing opinions openly. You may feel less inclined to assert yourself, or you may second-guess decisions that usually feel instinctive. This is especially noticeable in professional communication, negotiations, public speaking, or leadership roles requiring persuasion. The lesson here is not silence, but measured expression, learning when to speak and when to observe. Because of Rahu, communication can become distorted. Words may be misunderstood, intentions misread, or messages exaggerated. Sagittarius individuals should be particularly careful with emails, social media posts, contracts, and verbal commitments during this period. Rahu in the 3rd house can create impulsive speech, saying something dramatic or absolute that later needs clarification. It can also generate mental restlessness, making it hard to focus on one task at a time. The presence of Mercury intensifies mental activity. Overthinking, scattered attention, and information overload are likely. Sagittarius individuals may feel compelled to multitask excessively or consume too much information, leading to mental fatigue. Important conversations with colleagues, clients, siblings, or neighbors may feel unresolved or repetitive. This is not an ideal period for launching media projects, major marketing campaigns, or writing contracts unless there is flexibility for later revision. Venus's involvement connects the eclipse to relationships within your immediate environment. Dynamics with siblings, cousins, or close acquaintances may become emotionally charged or confusing. You may feel unappreciated for your efforts or notice imbalance in give and take. Financial discussions linked to short-term projects, commissions, or freelance work may lack clarity. Venus involved here suggests that harmony in communication requires honesty, not avoidance or people-pleasing. A crucial stabilizing influence is Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which aspects Aquarius. Jupiter is your first house lord, making its influence particularly important. Jupiter's aspect provides protection and perspective, but because it is retrograde, clarity comes through review rather than expansion. You may revisit old skills, unfinished writing projects, or previous communication strategies that can now be improved. Past connections, former colleagues, siblings, or neighbors, may reappear, offering insight or closure. Because Jupiter is retrograde, overconfidence should be avoided. Sagittarius individuals may feel tempted to rely on faith alone, assuming things will work out without detailed effort. This eclipse counters that tendency. It emphasizes skill building, discipline, and precision over broad vision. Success now comes from refining methods, not chasing grand ideas. Another significant influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your 4th house in Pisces. This links communication and self-effort, 3rd house, with emotional security and inner stability, 4th house. Sagittarius individuals may realize that stress in communication or work stems from deeper emotional unrest or lack of grounding. Family responsibilities or domestic concerns may distract you from focusing on personal projects. Emotionally, this eclipse can bring irritability or impatience. Emotional reactions may surface suddenly after being suppressed. Sagittarius individuals may feel easily triggered by criticism or misunderstandings. This is a signal to slow down and observe emotional patterns rather than reacting defensively. Taking breaks from constant communication, digital detox, journaling, or quiet reflection can be highly beneficial. The 3rd house also governs short travel and transportation. Travel plans may face delays, miscommunication, or sudden changes. Vehicles, gadgets, or communication tools may require repair or replacement. While this can be frustrating, it also highlights areas that need maintenance or upgrading. This eclipse can also impact relationships with siblings. Old issues or unspoken tensions may resurface. Alternatively, siblings may go through changes that require your attention or support. Approach these matters with patience rather than judgment. Eclipse energy tends to exaggerate emotions temporarily. It is important to remember that solar eclipses operate over 6 months. The confusion or hesitation felt in February, March 2026 is part of a longer process of strengthening your communication style and self-effort. By mid to late 2026, Sagittarius individuals who consciously refine skills, improve discipline, and communicate more thoughtfully will see tangible results. New projects may emerge once clarity returns, built on stronger foundations. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 3rd house for Sagittarius is a recalibration of courage and communication. It does not take away your voice, it teaches you to use it wisely. This eclipse asks you to replace impulsive action with conscious effort, scattered thinking with focus, and assumption with clarity. If you embrace patience and refinement, this period can ultimately empower you to express yourself more effectively, act with confidence grounded in reality, and build skills that support long-term success. For Capricorn, the solar eclipse occurs in Aquarius, activating your 2nd house, the house of money, income, savings, family, speech, values, self-worth, food habits, and accumulated resources. A solar eclipse in the 2nd house is deeply consequential because this house sustains life itself. It shows not only how you earn and preserve wealth, but also how secure you feel, how you speak, and what you value at a fundamental level. For Capricorn individuals, this eclipse signals a serious karmic reset around finances, family responsibilities, and personal value systems. The 2nd house represents stability and continuity. When a solar eclipse occurs here, that sense of stability can feel temporarily shaken. Capricorn individuals may experience uncertainty around income, savings, or financial planning. Money that seemed assured may be delayed, while expenses may rise unexpectedly. This does not automatically indicate loss, but it does indicate instability and reevaluation. You may realize that your current income structure is more fragile than you assumed, or that your dependence on certain sources of money is risky. The eclipse asks you to reassess how secure your financial foundation truly is. As this eclipse takes place on Dhanishta Nakshatra, this eclipse can bring sudden income shifts, either gained through authority or loss due to overreach. Family dynamics may revolve around money or control. Speech becomes sharp. Words can either establish dominance or damage relationships. This eclipse demands financial discipline and ethical use of power. Long-term wealth patterns begin restructuring here. The eclipse in the second house can make Capricorn individuals feel anxious about the future, even if circumstances appear manageable on the surface. You may worry more than usual about finances, family obligations, or long-term security. This anxiety is not irrational. It is a signal that something in your value system or financial structure needs adjustment. Rahu in the second house can create sudden fluctuations in income, exaggerated desires, or unrealistic expectations around money. Some Capricorn individuals may be tempted by high-risk financial opportunities, speculative investments, or shortcuts to wealth. Others may feel pressured by family expectations or social comparisons. Rahu tends to inflate both fear and greed. It is essential to stay grounded and avoid making financial decisions driven by panic or excitement during this period. The presence of Mercury highlights issues related to speech, communication, and financial documentation. Misunderstandings around money are likely. Incorrect assumptions about payments, salary, shared resources, or verbal agreements. Important financial discussions may lack clarity or transparency. Capricorn individuals should avoid relying on verbal assurances and ensure that all financial matters are clearly documented. Careless speech can also create family tensions. Words spoken impulsively during this eclipse may have lasting emotional impact. Venus, the planet of wealth, comfort, and harmony, being involved in the second house is significant. Capricorn individuals may feel dissatisfied with their current standard of living or frustrated that material efforts are not bringing expected comfort. You may feel compelled to reassess spending habits, lifestyle choices, or financial priorities. Relationships within the family may also be affected, especially where money, inheritance, or shared responsibilities are involved. Another crucial factor is Saturn, your first house lord, transiting your third house in Pisces. Saturn's influence shows that financial stability, second house, is now linked to effort, skills, communication, and persistence, third house. Money will not come easily during this eclipse cycle. It must be earned through sustained effort, patience, and disciplined action. A strong stabilizing influence comes from Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, which aspects Aquarius. Jupiter's aspect provides protection against long-term financial damage, but because it is retrograde, benefits come slowly. Jupiter suggests revisiting old financial plans, previous income ideas, or unfinished skill-based work. Some Capricorn individuals may find value in reviving an old project, skill, or source of income rather than chasing something entirely new. Jupiter also emphasizes learning, financial literacy, communication skills, or advisory input can significantly improve outcomes later. Family dynamics are another key theme. The second house represents family lineage and values. This eclipse may bring unresolved family issues to the surface, especially those involving money, inheritance, or differing value systems. Capricorn individuals may feel burdened by family expectations or responsibilities. Some may feel that they are carrying more than their fair share. While this can feel heavy, it also provides an opportunity to redefine boundaries and clarify roles within the family. Emotionally, this eclipse can affect self-worth. Capricorn individuals often derive confidence from stability and achievement. When financial or familial stability feels uncertain, self-esteem may take a hit. You may question whether your efforts are sufficient or whether you are meeting expectations, your own or others. This period teaches that self-worth cannot be measured solely by income or external validation. Health-wise, the second house also relates to food habits, throat, face, and digestion. Stress related to finances or family can manifest physically through eating patterns, speech-related strain, or minor throat issues. Mindful eating and stress management will be important during this period. It is essential to remember that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. The financial uncertainty or emotional discomfort felt in February, March 2026 will not remain the same. By mid to late 2026, Capricorn individuals who respond with discipline, patience, and realism will begin to rebuild stronger financial foundations. The eclipse acts as a wake-up call, revealing weak points so they can be strengthened. This eclipse also carries a karmic lesson for Capricorn. Security is not just about accumulation, but about sustainability. The universe is asking you to move away from fear-based decisions and toward conscious, value-driven choices. Excessive control or rigidity around money may soften, allowing a healthier relationship with resources to develop. Overall, the solar eclipse in the second house for Capricorn is a serious but constructive turning point. It challenges outdated financial patterns, exposes value conflicts, and demands maturity in speech and decision-making. While this period may feel restrictive or unsettling, it ultimately offers the chance to build a more stable, realistic, and aligned foundation, one that supports not just material survival, but long-term peace of mind. For Aquarius, the solar eclipse occurs in your own sign and in your first house. The first house represents identity, physical body, health, confidence, self-image, direction in life, and how you initiate action. When a solar eclipse occurs here, especially with such a heavy planetary gathering, it marks a major karmic reset of self. This is the kind of eclipse that changes how you see yourself and how the world responds to you for years to come. This eclipse is exceptionally intense because Sun, Moon, Rahu, Mercury, and Venus are all clustered in Aquarius. Both luminaries being involved in your first house means clarity about who you are, where you are going, and what role you are meant to play may feel temporarily lost. Aquarius individuals may feel unusually uncertain, restless, or detached from their usual sense of identity. You might question long-held labels, ambitions, and even personality traits. This is not a crisis. It is a dissolution phase, where the old version of you begins to fade so a new one can eventually emerge. This is a self-defining eclipse for Aquarius natives. Identity, health, confidence, and life direction come under intense pressure. As this eclipse takes place on the Nishtha Nakshatra, this eclipse can push you to step into authority, but not without cost. You may feel exposed, judged, or forced to perform. Ego inflation or collapse is possible, depending on how grounded you are. This eclipse marks the beginning of a new karmic identity cycle, where leadership must be earned, not assumed. The Sun represents authority, vitality, confidence, and leadership. Its eclipse in your first house can feel like a dip in confidence or visibility. You may feel less motivated to assert yourself or less interested in recognition. Others may momentarily misunderstand you, project assumptions onto you, or overlook your contributions. This can be frustrating, especially for Aquarius individuals who are used to being intellectually independent and future-focused. This eclipse is teaching you that identity rooted solely in role, status, or external validation is fragile. Your emotional responses may feel unpredictable, sometimes detached, sometimes overwhelmed. You may feel disconnected from your body or physical rhythms, leading to fatigue, sleep disturbances, or mood fluctuations. Aquarius individuals often process emotions intellectually, but during this eclipse, emotions may surface without clear logic. This is an invitation to reconnect with the body and emotional needs rather than remaining in the mind. Rahu in the first house can create identity confusion, obsession with reinvention, or anxiety about how you are perceived. You may feel pressure to radically change your appearance, lifestyle, or public image. Some Aquarius individuals may feel pulled toward extreme self-expression or unconventional paths, while others may feel lost, unsure of what feels authentic anymore. Rahu dissolves certainty before offering innovation, so avoid impulsive rebranding or life-altering decisions made purely out of restlessness. The presence of Mercury intensifies mental activity. Overthinking, self-analysis, and mental fatigue are likely. You may replay conversations, question decisions, or feel unsure about how to communicate your thoughts. Miscommunication is possible, not because you are unclear, but because others may not fully understand your evolving perspective. It is important to speak less and observe more during the eclipse window. Let your thoughts settle before articulating major decisions. Venus, which governs relationships, harmony, and self-worth, being involved in this eclipse particularly important. Self-esteem may fluctuate. You may feel less attractive, less appreciated, or less emotionally satisfied than usual. Relationships may mirror this internal state. Partners and close connections may feel distant or confused about your needs. This is not necessarily about rejection. It is about redefining how you value yourself independently of others' approval. Venus here asks you to reconnect with self-love that is not dependent on constant validation. A crucial stabilizing influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your second house in Pisces. Saturn grounds this eclipse by forcing you to focus on values, financial responsibility, speech, and long-term stability. While identity feels fluid, Saturn reminds you that actions still have consequences. You may feel compelled to simplify life, reduce excess, or become more mindful of how you speak and spend. Saturn's influence ensures that this identity shift, though uncomfortable, leads to maturity rather than chaos. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, aspecting Aquarius, provides protection and perspective, but slowly. Jupiter suggests that this identity crisis is actually a learning phase. Wisdom will emerge through reflection, study, dialogue, and self-observation. Old ideas about who you are may be revisited and reinterpreted. Jupiter retrograde indicates that understanding comes from revising your narrative, not creating a new one overnight. Physically, this eclipse demands attention to health and energy levels. The first house rules the body itself. Aquarius individuals may feel drained, overstimulated, or disconnected from physical needs. This is not a time to push the body beyond limits. Rest, hydration, gentle routines, and nervous system care are essential. Ignoring physical signals now can lead to burnout later in the year. This eclipse also has a strong impact on personal autonomy. Aquarius individuals may feel torn between asserting independence and feeling strangely dependent on circumstances or others' reactions. It is vital to remember that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. What feels like loss of identity in February, March 2026 will gradually transform into a clearer, more authentic self by mid to late 2026. Many Aquarius individuals will emerge from this period having shed outdated roles, false confidence, and external pressures. The new identity that forms may be quieter, deeper, and more intentional, but also far more aligned with your true purpose. This eclipse carries a profound karmic message. You are not meant to be who you used to be. The universe is dissolving an old version of you that has completed its role. Resistance will create anxiety, acceptance will create growth. You are being prepared for a new cycle that begins only after the fog clears. Overall, the solar eclipse in the first house for Aquarius is a life-defining reset. It challenges ego, identity, and direction, but it also opens the door to profound self-awareness. If you allow this phase to unfold without forcing answers, it can become one of the most transformative periods of your life. One that leads to deeper self-knowledge, healthier boundaries, and a more authentic expression of who you truly are becoming. For Pisces, the solar eclipse occurs in Aquarius, activating your 12th house, the house of losses, expenses, isolation, sleep, subconscious patterns, foreign lands, spirituality, hospitals, ashrams, retreats, endings, detachment, and liberation, moksha. For Pisces individuals, this eclipse marks the closing of a long karmic chapter and the beginning of an invisible but profound inner transition that reshapes your relationship with surrender, solitude, and purpose. The 12th house is not about visible achievement, it is about release. When a solar eclipse happens here, clarity around direction, motivation, and worldly engagement may temporarily fade. Pisces individuals may feel withdrawn, fatigued, or uninterested in external ambitions. This is not laziness or failure, it is a withdrawal of energy from the material world so that deeper psychological and spiritual processes can take place. Your sense of identity and emotional grounding may feel blurred. You may not be able to clearly articulate what you want or where you are headed, and that uncertainty itself becomes part of the lesson. As this eclipse takes place on the Anishta Nakshatra, this eclipse can drain energy if ambition is misplaced. Hidden enemies, secret pressures, or institutional matters may surface quietly. This is not a time to fight outwardly, it's a time to release illusions of control. Spiritual discipline and rest are crucial, otherwise burnout or escapism can occur. One of the strongest themes of this eclipse for Pisces is ending and closure. Situations, habits, relationships, or inner patterns that have outlived their purpose may begin dissolving, quietly, without drama. Some Pisces individuals may experience physical endings such as leaving a job, stepping away from a role, or distancing themselves from certain people. Others may experience emotional endings, letting go of guilt, unrealistic hopes, or subconscious fears. The eclipse does not force abrupt conclusions. Instead, it gently erodes attachment, making continuation feel unnatural. Rahu's dominance in the 12th house can initially create anxiety. Rahu here amplifies subconscious fears, restlessness, and overthinking, especially at night. Sleep disturbances, vivid dreams, or heightened intuition are common. Pisces individuals may feel mentally scattered or emotionally overwhelmed by invisible pressures. Rahu in the 12th house can also increase expenses, particularly related to health, travel, foreign matters, or spiritual pursuits. These expenses are often karmic in nature, meant to clear old debts rather than create new problems. The involvement of Mercury makes the mind unusually active despite physical withdrawal. You may replay past conversations, decisions, or regrets repeatedly. Communication may feel incomplete, things left unsaid, messages unanswered, or misunderstandings unresolved. It is important to understand that the 12th house does not seek resolution through logic alone. Overanalyzing the past during this eclipse will only increase mental fatigue. Journaling, meditation, or creative expression can help process these thoughts more gently. Venus's presence connects the eclipse to emotional comfort, relationships, and pleasure. Pisces individuals may feel distant from partners or loved ones, not because love is gone, but because inner healing takes priority. Romantic or emotional attachments that are based on sacrifice, fantasy, or imbalance may begin to dissolve. Financially, Venus here can increase spending on comforts, healing, travel, or spiritual tools, but it can also highlight dissatisfaction with material pleasures that no longer fulfill you. A crucial stabilizing influence is Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, transiting your first house in Pisces. Saturn in the first house already makes this a serious, introspective period of life. The eclipse in the 12th house works in harmony with Saturn, forcing maturity, realism, and accountability. You may feel heavier, quieter, or more reserved than usual. Saturn strips away escapism and asks you to confront reality. Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, aspecting Aquarius, provides protection but not comfort. Jupiter's aspect suggests that learning and understanding will come later, after reflection. You may revisit old ideas about spirituality, healing, or meaning. Jupiter indicates that wisdom is being cultivated internally, not through external validation. Guidance may come through books, mentors, or quiet insights rather than dramatic events. Health and energy levels require special attention during this eclipse. The 12th house governs sleep, immunity, and recovery. Pisces individuals may feel physically drained or emotionally sensitive. This is not the time to push yourself beyond limits. Hospitals, healing centers, or retreats may become relevant, either literally or symbolically. Rest is a necessity. Ignoring exhaustion or emotional overwhelm can lead to burnout later in the year. This eclipse also heightens spiritual sensitivity. Pisces individuals may feel drawn toward meditation, prayer, solitude, or service. Intuition is strong, but it must be grounded. Without grounding, heightened sensitivity can turn into anxiety or escapism. Saturn's presence helps anchor spiritual insight into discipline and practice rather than fantasy. Foreign connections and distant places may also play a role. Some Pisces individuals may consider travel, relocation, or working with foreign institutions. During the eclipse, such matters may remain uncertain or delayed. The desire to escape current circumstances may be strong, but clarity about direction will come only after the eclipse cycle progresses. Emotionally, this eclipse can feel isolating. Pisces individuals thrive on connection, and temporary withdrawal can feel lonely. It is important to differentiate between chosen solitude and emotional isolation. This eclipse favors conscious solitude, time spent healing, reflecting, and releasing. It does not favor running away from responsibilities or numbing emotions through avoidance. It is essential to remember that solar eclipses unfold over 6 months. What feels like loss, confusion, or withdrawal in February, March 2026 will gradually reveal its purpose by the latter half of the year. This eclipse carries a powerful karmic message for Pisces. Not everything is meant to be carried forward. Some attachments must dissolve so that true growth can occur. Resistance creates suffering, acceptance creates liberation. Overall, the solar eclipse in the 12th house for Pisces is a profound spiritual and psychological reset. It may feel quiet, heavy, or emotionally draining at times, but it is ultimately cleansing. By honoring rest, practicing surrender, and allowing endings to unfold naturally, Pisces individuals can use this eclipse to release deep-seated burdens and prepare for a new chapter of life that begins with greater clarity, compassion, and inner strength. As we conclude this episode, please keep in mind that these insights are based on the sidereal zodiac system used in Vedic astrology, which differs from the tropical system by approximately 24 degrees. These are general predictions. The real impact depends on your dasha cycles and your individual birth chart. For a personalized analysis or consultation, feel free to reach out. If you found this video valuable, please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And now you can also hype this video to boost it within the community. Your support helps this knowledge reach more people who may benefit. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, keep learning, and keep shining bright.